17 weeks later. The first video that I took was more or less here, so I'm going to put them two side by sides of this. But as I said, this is more or less a comparison. That first day, that first arrival here, you'll see many differences, a few differences, some differences. But now I walked through here and it looked all desolate. This needs to be trimmed, but I sort of haven't got there. Something else that I mentioned was this, the raspberry cage, raspberry enclosure, call it what you want to. As you can see, I did patch it all up, and those of you that have been following have seen those videos, and we've harvested a few occasions. We've harvested raspberries. There's a little hole in the net, so let me see if I can show you inside with through the little hole like that. Look at that, clever me. Anyway, the raspberries are coming to an end, but we've had a good few feeds. Also, we've thrown some in the deep freeze. Is that the mower starting? We've thrown some in the deep freeze, and you take the fruit out of the deep freeze, leave them for a few minutes, and you mix it with your ice cream. Anyway, those were just some of the comparisons, and this now soon to be getting very, very long 17-week update. Thank you for following. Thank you for those that have commented. I hope there's the odd thing one or two folk can learn from this. And I'll note again, there's quite a few gardening, or there are a few gardening grow veg, link below, and then of course Charles Dowding. Most of my learnings I've based on, most of my doings I've based on my learnings from that man. Now this is in conjunction with week 17's video. 4 months, almost to the day, the end of week 17. But I gave you week 13, but I want to do it slightly different. I found obviously the very first video I took where there was still no leaves on the trees, late in March. I think the 24th of March was, or 23rd of March was the first time I took a video on visiting the place after our visit, and discussing the options with the landlord. These 4 tomatoes must go home when I've built their shelter. Those are Brussels sprouts that I must plant. These are 2 boerpompoen. That's a spanspek that I put out here. I basically want to keep this bed only for the soft lettuce, soft leaves, cucumber, listen to me, cauliflower. It starts with a C, you see. There's alderman peas. Those are home saved peas from about 2 or 3 years ago that I want to then save more for next year. These other peas, they didn't show much. They really didn't do much. I have bought the climbing ones of that variety. I'll put the variety in here. These are the bush ones that I bought, but I'm not going to bother with them. Next year I'll save alderman, because I gave my good lady Fairy Princess a taste test and she loved the alderman better, but I know that. Home saved radish. Yeah, this was radish seed. I'm letting these last ones grow out. I planted this in the same row as the turnips, not turnips, parsnips. Well, I see no sign of parsnips yet, but they say they can take up to 5 weeks. That's why they say you grow to save on a barren patch. You add radish there. So I dropped the last of my radish seed, but I've just put in a packet seed radish and carrot, Nant 5. Because this is mostly shaded. You can see there's the last bit of afternoon sun there you get, but mostly this is in the shade. which is something else to consider for next season. I have to plant those, but I've got other things to do today. I've got to go home and go and eat a steak, a proper steak from the butcher. Nice fat on it. Anyway, look at the size, the tallness of that yolk, the sunflower, and those peas are going quite well too. This was the first bed I did. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was scheming and conniving, and look there, that's me reaching as high as I can, finger in the sky. That's 6 inches short of, well, so this is way over 6 foot, the sunflower is already, which is a nice thing. I love these things for as much for their growth as what for their flowers. And then these were also home saved seeds. You'll see another sunflower in there, and you saw one there in the pumpkin bed, and there's 6 more of the latter crop. And I took 4 home. 2 of almost as big as this, and 2, one was, I don't know what happened to it, and the other one, I don't know if it's birds in that particular bed. The other one, the growing tip was broken off, but I have noticed that they produce their own growing tips. I think here's one that did just that. It was broken and it regened itself. It could be this one of them. Anyway, this little bed was just for the fun of it. That's coriander, there's cosmos, obviously this lot, because when I built this, I thought, okay, they get lots and lots of sun. So that's it for today, but not quite it. I need to show you what I call the heart of the operation while we're here. Let me show you. Okay, I was busy lining cardboard so I can bring in manure and more dry matter and start building the layers. This was yay high a week ago to the top, and that was the 3rd time I got it to the top and sunk down, but apparently you can't carry on doing that. So this is now compacting its way down. At that point, it was when I lifted and felt, you can see there's good white stuff happening in here. Now I don't know if I can do this. There's still good warmth in there, so this is doing just what it must do. Okay, so this second bay is in the process of starting to happen. Me clearing scraps and loose bits and pieces and weeds going in here, and then I'm going to put a layer of manure, which is still sitting in the bag, but yeah, there we go. The 1 or 2 of my initial thoughts on using that was before this tree was in leaf. I thought lots and lots of sun gets there, but it doesn't. It's almost this is about the best sun that it gets all day. Same likewise, yeah, I thought of recovering this, but I eventually decided to stick with those first. I need to address the situation of trimming these trees down, back up, not down, up, taking off, dropping most of these very lower limbs, which is a bit of sacrilege, but that will open up. As you can see, there's the sun. If this is gone, this one is gone, that one above there is gone, and these are gone, what we will have then, even if we drop that whole one over there and we drop that one there, and I don't really want to drop that one because why? There's no need to drop it. If we drop those, we'll have all this afternoon sun in here, and that will enable me to open this up and even over there up, which I'll get to slowly but surely, as long as the landlord is happy with me doing this, and that's the problem. I have to discuss that with him, which I will. Likewise, those branches there, a few of them, if I may drop them to You can see there where the sun is. If we can drop these, then we'll have much longer afternoon sun, which will be great because it will be this bed. You can see it's long time in the shade. This is in the shade. That's got a bit of sun on it, but it could do with shade. At least it could do with more sun. Listen to me, it could do with shade. It's got enough shade all through the day, especially because of this hedge. That was the idea of planting the cooler type, cooler tolerant veggies over there, the leaf veggies. There we go. That is, apart from one more thing. After week 13, that's when we really had the hottest week of the lot. You can see the back wall. I took between the two uprights where the ladder is there, between those two uprights there was a panel, which I waxed lyrical about in the first video because I thought it would supply good ventilation, which it does. That's the north wall. So we often get northeast winds, and as you can feel, as you can hear, can you feel? Coming straight down the drag. So right, that is 2 by 3 meters panel of shade cloth there I added. So I have a plan. There is a tarpaulin lying here that is 2 by 3 meters, which will go to cover that hole when the requirement is such, to block it up, or to block it up partially, mostly, and leave the bit on the bottom. Horseflies, another horsefly got me. And this too, I added this panel. This I did long ago, put a panel here. I may do the rest of the door too, but the temperatures are set to reduce a little bit. But this is more for ventilation than for anything else, so that we can try and drop the temperatures a bit. I mean, it's 21 degrees supposedly today, outside air temperature, and it's reading 26, 27 in here, and when we got here it was over 30. So do the plants like that, not like that? I don't know. I'm not totally confused. Some people say the cucurbits love heat much more than what tomatoes do. These tomatoes are all looking healthy and strong. These are mostly all the second sowing of seeds after I killed most of the first sowings. Likewise with the cucurbits. But you can see those are cherry tomatoes. They are starting to run upstairs. So are, strangely enough, some of these are moneymaker. Some of them are strong. Those three over there are the beef tomatoes. These are Roma, which are bushing tomatoes, so they haven't got twirlies going up. First things we ever planted here was rhubarb from home. They eventually starting to look like they've taken. Look at the leaves perking up nicely. That's it. I won't show you much more, apart from saying this is it. I'm going to water now, and I'm going to end off by saying, if you do feel like buying me a coffee, the link is still here. I'm soon going to terminate that system, but if you do at this stage feel like supporting me for more seed for the winter sowing, let's just see what the temperature says there. Anyway, I do trust you will be rewarded by the content I provide. I'll end off again by reiterating, wherever this is going to fit in, reiterating the fact that YouTube seems to have taken a dislike in my content, the metal detecting content, the shorts in general. It's just taken my numbers have tanked, literally. If you want to use the expression tanked, literally cratered off the edge of a cliff, down the steepest volcano edge that you can think of. Down they've gone. So if you can help me, I'll reiterate it again. if you want to help me get to 500 by sharing and liking and commenting, letting the algorithm do something for me in long form and short form, then please do so. If I get to 500, I'm going to have a giveaway. I mentioned it to Marlon earlier in a comment today. I've promised a few things. I've promised that I'll continue showing this. I've also promised that I'll do a short a day for a year, and I started sort of midway through January, so I'm more than 6 months down the line. I almost stopped the other day, just through sheer frustration, but we'll continue. And the other promises were that I'll give away a bit of gold, one of the old 9-carat or whatever bits and pieces that I dug up, metal detecting. So you know the metal detecting videos are plenty of them there. More fun than educational, really, because I had to learn the hard way via YouTube. The likes of Merrill, he's been I left a comment on his site today too. He's been my mentor and my tutor in many ways for a long time, and that's where I started learning, way back when, about 6 years ago, when I started detecting. Anyway, that's enough of that now. Yeah, thank you for your support. Stay well, stay safe, stay free, and be happy, as I always say. This probably will be part of the addendum. Cheers for now.
Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell to receive notifications.
I'm going to go back to the very first video again. There's a few more comparisons that I didn't really get to, including this one. Now I had to start here because this was all dry, and as you can see, so yeah, I'm going to round the corner where I vaguely tell you about 3 beds, and I stand here somewhere and I go, there are 3 beds, or are 3 beds here, and I start there by the tree. I call that number 1, number 2, number 3. So I actually started with this one, and you can see we've eaten quite a bit here. Radish, we've had peas, we still will have peas. The sunflower has really impressed me. Under the planks there's tomatoes, no, I lie, carrots, and next to that was another row of packet radish. These two boerpampoen are late plantings out. But in any case, I've been clearing here, finding caterpillar eggs, white fly eggs, white butterflies. They're all white butterflies, are called cabbage butterflies because they lay. So these are leaf lettuce. I've actually removed some of them already. Radish, most of them are removed. I planted the radish, these were home saved radish seeds. I planted them in a row here. In the drill that I planted or sowed parsnips in. There's no sign of the parsnips yet, but they say that can take a while. So I want to leave a few of these radish that, as I said, home sown. As you can see there, there's a few nice beauties to go home for the salads. Look at that. But I want to see if we can harvest more seed here, because I lost the last bit of the seed that I had. I've just put in Christmas specials, broccoli, no, Brussels sprouts. 4 plants here. I've got 3 more left in there. But before we get there, I just want to show you. There's peas, there's cosmos, there's not a violet, there's the little violets that I planted. I love colour. The nasturtiums, they came from home. Alderman peas, cauliflower and broccoli. There's a purple cabbage, 1 of 2. I'm going to sow more cabbage seed shortly, more cauliflower seed shortly, because we're going to go into a cooler period in the not too distant future. Anyway, the corn is looking great. The maize, the mealies, call it what you want to, looking great. These first lot are all variegated. So this was bed number 2. There's actually a pumpkin in there, North American Indian, where they plant all sorts. Now that lad down there, can you see him down there? Lad or lass? That must be a good 3 inches across, going on to 75. A day or so ago, I was very worried that we weren't going to get any boerpampoen results. That one was obviously pollinated. Out here, the indoors, I've had to hand pollinate. Plus, in bed number, as I called it then, bed number 1, this was a higgledy-piggledy rush job bed where I basically just did mounds with compost and chicken bits and pieces out of the chicken run. So there were 2 boerpampoen, a few other bits and pieces in here, and then I just stuck in that sunflower to get it out of the seedling pot. My sunflower seed were also home seed, giant sunflower. They were also home seed, and they all did particularly well. As you can see, sunflowers all over the place. So that was the one little bit that I wanted to show you what's happened in the beds in 4 months. The period of 4 months since I rounded that corner there for the first time. No, I don't want to do that. I'm trying to zoom out, then this happens. Since I rounded this corner and stood about here somewhere and showed you the beds and the state that they were in, I'm going to say it again, I'm rather chuffed with mine. Anyway, then I showed you the tunnel, and there was a big hole here. So that panel has arrived for ventilation. This I put in for ventilation. Let's open the door, and from the desolation that was the desert that was in here, I think you'll have to agree with me. It's looking pretty alright. I sort of run out of steam, no, not steam, resources mostly. If I had another load of compost already ready to plant compost, I would have continued here. I have seedlings that I've got to do something with before I lose them. So I'm going to scrape together. There's chicken stuff, there's mushroom compost. We've got a little bit left here. Mushroom substrate, not compost. There's some bought bag compost. I'm going to mix them up, and I probably will put them at the end of that bed there, so that the plants, the watermelon and a few spun speck and butternut can run that way. And whatever happens with them, it'll be a bonus, because I've sort of run out of ideas and space in here. Not really, I can still go on till here and even further. This is sort of where I dump all the empty bags and things, because I'm going to use the big fertilizer bags next year for grow bags. That's for sure. These are too small. Lesson learned. Although I'm supporting relatively good growth out of my mixtures. These are all 6. These plants are all out of there. They vary in height because these are cucumbers. You can see the cucumbers hanging nicely there. The gem squash plants really excelled, and then I realized I was losing fruit, so I've been hand pollinating gem squash and boerpampoen. There was a boerpampoen on here that rotted off. There's another one that I've hand pollinated this morning, and another one. So let's see if my hand pollination tricks work. But a man must do what a man must do. The mushroom substrate is delivering masses of mushrooms. I'm a bit wary to eat them, but if it was for domestic mushroom use, then I'm sure they can be eaten. So I'm going to harvest some, because there's some fresh ones on the grow again. Anyway, I've done some pruning lower level for ventilation. We are supposedly having a quieter temperature period. Isn't supposed to go to 20 today, but I think it's got there. It's nice and warm in here. which is the function of a tunnel, isn't it? Let's see. Yep, over 30. So yes, I'm going to end this off now. I have to end this off because I've been waffling far too long. So there's all the comparisons for you. I think you will have to agree with me. You'll have to agree with me. I'm not begging you to, but I'm just saying that I've done relatively nicely for myself in a very short period of time, and I'm already starting the planning. You've seen the compost bays at work. I'm starting the planning for succession planting in this bed. That bed already I've started, as I've said. I've got chard and a few other seedlings going so that I can fill up here. Also, I need to, as those chard come out, replace bits and pieces there. We want to see if the parsnips will arise. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to now go away. And I don't know. Oh, I did it in this upright format because I can put bits and pieces next to each other. Off we go. Bye bye. Bye.